Let's leave the house now while we can. It's okay, we definitely won't get caught. Come on, you're so impatient. Everyone in the family is probably asleep by now, let's just go ahead. It was the night before the wedding, and relatives had gathered at the in-laws' house. In the midst of this, my fiancé, Sean, dashed out of the house with another woman at 1 a.m. I confirmed this while looking at my smartphone and am now secretly following them. As soon as they entered the park restroom, they began flirting passionately, exchanging sickeningly sweet words. It was clearly cheating, and I was utterly disgusted. What does he mean by "we definitely won't get caught"? I already know everything. I could have confronted them right there, but I thought it was too lenient and held back, instead taking a video through a small window in the restroom. Sean, you deceive our family, don't think you'll get away with this. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life. With a seething anger boiling within me, I prepared my revenge. The day of the wedding finally arrived. Unaware of anything, Sean waited with me to make our entrance. On the other side of the door, many people who came to celebrate with us were waiting. The venue was enveloped in a celebratory atmosphere, with guests gathered to honor our happiness. Even through the door, I could feel the guests' excitement rising. "Sarah, let's be happy together for sure," Sean said with overwhelming emotion. Blissfully unaware, he expressed his joy to me, while I forced a smile, irritated on the inside. Of course. So many people are here to celebrate with us. While I looked at him with cold eyes on the inside, I pretended to be moved. A day we will both never forget is about to begin. Glancing at the overjoyed Sean, I straightened my back. Sean and I were engaged, but not yet legally married. He was working for a company run by my in-laws, which had fallen into financial difficulties right when we got engaged. The in-laws, including us, decided it wasn't the time for marriage and agreed to register our marriage after the company was back on track. While Sean and the in-laws were busy, all I could do was wait. Sean's hard work finally paid off, and they got the business on track. "I'm really sorry for making you wait." That's what Sean said when he gave me the ring just recently. Since then, things have moved smoothly, and we were able to make it to today. It's been a tough journey to this wedding, and the guests around us seem deeply moved, repeatedly saying, "I'm glad we made it through," while looking happy. Contrary to that, knowing everything already, my feelings have gone cold, and I was just firming up my resolve to show him hell. It's finally time for the bride and groom to enter, and the entrance music starts playing. "Come on, Sean." Everyone's been waiting. But Sean, standing next to me, is pale as if he can't hear my voice at all. He's acting suspicious, looking around. "What's this? Stop it. Please stop." "What's wrong, Sean?" I gently call out to Sean, who's covering his ears. Actually, I had the song that was supposed to play on our entrance changed at the last minute. And the BGM I chose was the conversation from the time Sean and his mistress were cheating in the park restroom. I had recorded the whole incident. Embarrassing conversations between Sean and his lover echoed through the venue. The guests seemed to notice, and I could tell from behind the doors that the venue was buzzing. It was a grossly vivid voice that was disgusting to hear again. An interaction that could make your skin crawl. And almost make you sick. Honestly, I didn't want to listen to such nauseating audio either. But as Sean desperately screamed, "Turn it off," I smiled and said, "No need to stop it. You were having a lot of fun, weren't you?" while wrapping his arm in mine. "Come on, Sean, let's hurry." "What are you planning, Sarah? Let go of my hand." "Why? We can't make our entrance as bride and groom unless we're arm in arm." I tightened my grip on Sean's arm to ensure he couldn't escape and stepped through the door. All eyes from the guests were on us. "Look, everyone's watching. Cut it out now." Realizing what I had done, Sean roughly shook off my arm. Reluctantly letting go, I ignored the furious Sean and took the microphone to address the 39 guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gathering here today, but I have regrettable news. Sean and I will not be getting married." My declaration stirred the room again. Meanwhile, the conversation of Sean and his lover's affair continued to play clearly throughout the venue. It sounded even more dreadful through the speakers, making you want to cover your ears. The guests listened to me with expressions of surprise and confusion. To inform them of the truth, I continued calmly. I dreamed of a happy married life with Sean, but I discovered he betrayed me by having an affair. The room fell silent for a moment, and gasps of "the groom was cheating" were heard from the guests. "Hey, what are you starting now?" Sean tried to stop me by reaching for the microphone. I brushed his hand aside and continued talking, ignoring him. "The proof of the affair is this audio you all are listening to right now. The male voice is unmistakably Sean, who was supposed to become my husband today. It's unfortunate that it has come to this, but knowing what I do now, I cannot marry him. I want to end our relationship here today." The guests quietly listened to my speech. I continued to explain how we reached this point. How I discovered the affair, what I felt approaching today. I spoke in detail. At that moment, my heart was filled with thoughts of revenge, but at the same time, I felt a quiet satisfaction that I was finally getting my revenge. My story started causing a stir among the guests, and the atmosphere in the venue turned indescribable. "You really embarrassed me good." Enraged by the situation, Sean finally lunged at me. "Stop it." But Sean's in-laws quickly intervened, catching Sean and stopping him. "Dad, Mom, I haven't been cheating, I swear. This is some kind of mistake. Someone's trying to frame me." Restrained, Sean was now desperately pleading with his in-laws. It would be hard for anyone here to believe that this was all an act. Sean's seriousness at work was well known. He had been working tirelessly to turn around the company, which had been struggling, a fact well understood by his company's staff and the relatives. That's why the relatives who knew Sean well looked confused. His attitude towards work was respected by those around him, and his colleagues at the company also praised and trusted Sean for his efforts. To those around him, Sean didn't seem like someone who would cheat. My sister, Mary, who also worked with Sean at my father-in-law's company, often told me about how hard Sean worked. Sean himself was aware of his good reputation and was still making excuses, saying, "I wouldn't cheat." He must have thought he could fool everyone. "Sean, we know everything," his father said in a grave tone, and Sean's complexion changed. "What do you mean, you know? That you have been cheating?" Actually, it wasn't me who first noticed Sean's affair, it was the in-laws. They discovered it because of the pet camera they had set up at home for their cat. One day, by chance, that camera caught Sean cheating with his mistress. The shock for the in-laws must have been considerable. Modern pet cameras have very clear video and audio. You can imagine how the in-laws felt seeing their son's vivid affair. Sean and his mistress, not knowing about the pet camera, had unfortunately chosen to meet right in front of it. And it wasn't just once or twice. When the in-laws saw this, they immediately told me about Sean's cheating. When I first heard, I was too shocked to think straight. It was the in-laws who firmly supported me during my turmoil. Moreover, they told me, "If you decide to divorce our son, we'll help you with things like seeking alimony as much as possible," firmly taking my side. With the solid support of my in-laws, I decided to confront Sean's infidelity. First, I had to see it for myself. I decided to use their pet camera to monitor Sean. I set up the camera to send the video to my smartphone, and I checked it diligently. Finally, the day came when I witnessed Sean's affair through the camera footage. At that moment, I saw Sean's infidelity live from my own room. Hearing about it and seeing it firsthand are completely different in terms of the impact. From that moment, I couldn't stand Sean touching me, and even being in the same room with him filled me with disgust. While I still wanted to believe Sean based on just my in-laws' words, this experience was a rude awakening. Having witnessed the decisive moment, I lost all trust in Sean and had to acknowledge his betrayal. The shock of being betrayed was greater than I had imagined, and for a while, I couldn't even swallow my food. But knowing the truth solidified my resolve. I decided to face this issue in my own way until I could come to terms with it. Sean, realizing that everything was out in the open, was dumbfounded next to me. It seemed like he was so shocked that he couldn't even speak. If he thought he could continue living peacefully without getting caught after all he had done, he was incredibly naive. As I watched Sean standing there, looking foolish, I moved forward. Leaving Sean behind, I approached a woman among the attendees. An affair isn't something Sean could do alone. His accomplice, this woman, also needed a wake-up call. As I stood directly in front of her, the woman looked uncomfortable and quickly averted her eyes. But I addressed her anyway. Having an affair with your sister's fiancé, what were you thinking? My words caused another stir in the venue. The guests' voices of surprise filled the room. Sean's mistress was my own sister, Mary. My in-laws and I knew that Sean's affair partner was my sister Mary, but of course, the guests had no idea. The fact that my sister Mary had betrayed me and had an affair with Sean was an unbelievable and shocking truth, leaving the guests unable to hide their astonishment. From the crowd, exclamations like "No way, that can't be true," and "To steal your sister's fiancé, unbelievable," were heard. Amidst this, Mary glared at me, her lips trembling. Since we lost our parents when we were young, Mary was like a parent to me, especially when we were little. She was always my understanding confidant and a reliable presence. Of course, I loved her more than anyone and trusted her completely. That's why it was incredibly hard to believe and forgive that she would betray me and have an affair with Sean. I was betrayed by the two people I trusted most deeply and dearly, my sister and Sean. This betrayal changed my world entirely during what should have been a happy time before my marriage. The happiness I had envisioned was carelessly destroyed by these two. I should have been blessed by my sister today, celebrating my wedding with a joyful heart. I thought marrying Sean would bring me closer to being a real family with my wonderful in-laws. That has now become an unattainable dream.
Why would you have an affair with my fiancé, of all people? That's insane.
When I confronted her, Mary began to talk back without any sign of remorse.
I've been in love with Sean before you two were even planning to marry. I liked him first. You're the one who stole him from me.
Mary claimed that since she met Sean first at the company, she was his real love, and it was me who stole him. That doesn't justify. For you, I've worked hard all my life. I missed out on hanging out with friends and couldn't go to college because I worked part-time jobs, and I studied on my own to get my degree. And after all that, to have my sister steal the man I love, that's just cruel. You've repaid my kindness with betrayal. I took a breath before responding. First of all, I didn't even know you liked Sean, isn't that just holding a grudge? Shut up. What do you even know about Sean and me? Mary raised me, working hard. Because she graduated high school, couldn't go to the college she wanted. She probably felt she sacrificed her own dreams because of me. And now, she resented that I had taken the person she loved. Mary claimed that by stealing Sean, who is important to me, she was getting revenge by taking away the person and the happy marriage life that mattered to me. It's true I have caused Mary hardship. I feel more than gratitude towards her, I also feel sorry and guilty. But that's a different story from this one.
You think you can just be happy after being so ungrateful? You brought this on yourself. It's all your fault.
My in-laws stopped Mary as she tried to physically confront me in anger. We've heard about how Mary struggled to raise Sarah. She must have made sacrifices and really worked hard. But that's a separate issue. No matter the reason, no matter who it involves, infidelity is never justified. That's right, you two are the only family you each have in this world. Betraying the only family you have is unforgivable. Still, Mary wouldn't listen to our in-laws.
Stop speaking as if you understand everything. You don't know what I've been through. Why should Sarah be happy without any hardship? Just because I was born first and am the sister, I've had to sacrifice so much.
She snapped at the in-laws sharply. Instead of apologizing to me, she started to retort, Sean was only going to marry you to use you as a maid. Considering everything up to now, this is only natural. Sean doesn't love you, he's going to marry me eventually. Sean, Mary is saying this, but is it true? When I asked, Sean hesitated and looked away. No, that's not. Mary's indecisive response only made Mary more frustrated.
Sean always says it. His true love is me, and the sister is just a replacement for a maid.
Well, that's true, but... Sean, not clearly affirming or denying, finally made Mary explode.
Just tell her clearly.
As Mary grew increasingly irate, my in-laws and I were just exhausted inside. So I decided to reveal another truth about Sean. Sean has other lovers too. What are you talking about? That can't be true. Of course, you wouldn't know. Poor sister. In fact, Sean has other mistresses besides Mary. He was deceiving not just me but also Mary. However, the overly confident Mary was reluctant to believe these words. Huh? Who would believe such a lie? Are you trying to deceive me into giving up? That's sneaky. Seeing that my sister Mary showed no sign of trust, I decided to show her the evidence prepared by my in-laws, the footage from the pet camera. The video saved on my smartphone showed a man and a woman engaged in an affair, just like in Mary's case, right in front of the pet camera. Can you still deny it after seeing this? In front of Mary, I proved that Sean was cheating with another woman. Mary was in denial, but the evidence inevitably forced her to falter. This must be some mistake, right, Sean? Despite her disbelief, she questioned Sean, but he remained silent. Mary, it looks pathetic to keep denying it at this point. Why not just admit it? You were just another plaything for him, I said calmly while looking at Sean. However, Mary, desperate to defend her position, continued to resist.
That can't be. I am special to Sean. I'm different from you.
Mary, you've said it yourself before. What goes around comes around. This is the consequence of deceiving others. It's what you call karma. I spoke calmly. Yet Mary was furious and exploded in anger. Finally, she started shouting, "Shut up! Be quiet," and began to lash out. The venue became chaotic, and as Mary was restrained by the wedding staff, and the onlookers' attention focused on her, she was hurriedly escorted out of the venue. The guests witnessed the scene and could not hide their surprise and intrigue, causing a stir in the venue. Amid the strange atmosphere, I took the microphone again and apologized to the guests. I'm sorry that this has happened when you all came to celebrate our marriage. I deeply regret having to expose a family disgrace and cause such disruption at this event. It might seem in poor taste to choose a wedding as the place to reveal my fiancé's affair and that his other woman was my own sister. I truly felt sorry for the guests who came to bless our marriage. But the truth is, I was too hurt and saddened not to expose this disgrace on such an occasion. I understand that the betrayal by Sean and my sister Mary cannot be undone, even with actions like these. I truly believe that such matters should be resolved through discussion without involving everyone. However, I just couldn't forgive Sean and my sister. I want them to never forget this and live with regret. And I want all of you here as witnesses to this. The guests at the venue nodded quietly, appearing to sympathize with me. In contrast, Sean received cold stares from everyone and collapsed on the spot. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Sean could only prostrate himself, repeating apologies to no one in particular. But his apologies reached no one, everyone just looked on coldly. Later, Sean was fired from his company. However, he wasn't fired for the affair, but because his misconduct was discovered. Sean had been working hard to turn around the struggling company, but that was just the facade. In reality, he was involved in corrupt dealings that benefited the company. Misconduct is bound to be discovered sooner or later. I never intended to commit misconduct. I did it solely for the company, to turn it around.
Fool! Who asked you to go that far? Misconduct is misconduct, it's not forgivable, And even if you turn things around with such methods, the trust is completely lost.
Scolded by my father-in-law, Sean continued with his pathetic excuses. I knew it wasn't right. I was always wondering when to come clean. But as my reputation continued to rise without the misconduct coming to light, I found myself unable to turn back. Thus, Sean's anxiety grew, and he began to resort to affairs to escape his worries. As a result, you've lost the trust of not only me but also your father-in-law, mother-in-law, colleagues, and everyone around you. This incident resulted in Sean losing the trust of his in-laws and the people around him, and he seemed to be driven into a corner mentally. Finally, I found the words to apologize to my in-laws. Even after that, I kept receiving messages from the surrounding people expressing their regret. And so, having had a change of heart, the message was about wanting to start over. Of course, I blocked their contact and didn't bother replying. I have no intention of ever meeting them again. It seems Sean apologized again to his in-laws and the people around him, but not a single person was willing to forgive him. Once you've lost that trust, it's hard to regain. On the other hand, my sister also got caught cheating and found it difficult to stay at her job, so she decided to quit. The shock of being deceived by Sean had taken a toll on her appearance and mental state. Especially compared to how fashionable she used to be, she now looks like a completely different person in her worn-out dress, with no makeup. Despite all this, my sister eventually came to me seeking help, but naturally, I turned her away. Can you lend me some money? It's not like you can't work, right? You should find a job soon.
I'm the one who raised you all this time. It's too cruel of you to push me away when I'm in trouble. You heartless person.
I truly appreciate everything you've done for me. It's precisely because of that gratitude that I can't forgive what you've done. Let's live separate lives from now on. I've made up my mind to completely sever ties with my sister. I also wanted to repay my sister for raising me by helping her from now on. I wanted us to live as sisters, not as surrogate parents, and do things together that we couldn't before. But even that turned out to be an unattainable dream. I might never see my sister again. The betrayal by Sean and my sister has become an unforgettable event in my life. The shock was immense, and the wounds are far from healing. Even if I've exacted revenge in this manner, it doesn't erase the pain. Even if Sean and my sister suffer, it's no longer my concern. All that remains is the fact of being betrayed, weighing heavily on me, unable to escape. Being betrayed by someone you trusted was more damaging than I expected. But once again, it was my in-laws who came to my rescue. They keep telling me, "We consider you our real daughter and we want you to rely on us anytime." Just hearing those words encouraged me. My in-laws, who have always been on my side and will continue to support me, are like real parents to me, especially since I don't have my own. From now on, I'll live to repay them. With that vow in my heart, I've decided to take a new step forward.